You're watching BBC News 24. It's just coming up to 4:30, and in this half hour it's the record Europe. That's after a summary of the news. Tony Blair has urged Labour to stop the bitter infighting over his leadership, warning it could lose them the next election. At a speech in London, he urged Labour activists to stop worrying about the polls and focus on policy challenges. He said personal attacks turn the public off. But it came as the former Home Secretary Charles Clarke launched a scathing attack on the character of the Chancellor. In an interview with the Daily Telegraph, Mr Clarke describes Gordon Brown as deluded and a control freak who can't work with people. Police in Manchester are investigating the shooting of a 15-year-old boy in the Moss Side area of the city. The teenager, who's not yet been named, was killed in the early hours of this morning near to a park. Detectives described the shooting as a planned attack. A NATO soldier and 40 suspected Taliban fighters have been killed in the latest fighting in southern Afghanistan. Senior NATO commanders meeting in Warsaw have urged members of the alliance to act quickly to send the extra soldiers and equipment needed in the country. The space shuttle Atlantis has finally blasted off Cape Canaveral in Florida after 2 weeks of frustrating delays. The 6 astronauts are now on their way on a mission to resume construction of the International Space Station for the first time since the Columbia disaster 3.5 years ago. Scientists say that food allergies could be virtually eradicated by vaccines within 10 years. Researchers say a vaccine to cure hay fever could be produced within 5 years. Similar treatments for food and nut allergies would then follow within the next decade. Don't forget there's more on our interactive news service, BBC Eye, which works for you either on Freeview or digital satellite, as long as you remember to press the red button on your handset. That's a summary of the news, however, at 4:31. Now, on BBC News 24, it's time for the Record Europe.
We're not going to win if we have personal attacks by anybody on anyone, because it turns the public off and makes them think we're interested again in ourselves and not in them.
In his first speech since announcing his to go within a year, the Prime Minister tells his party to stop squabbling. But the leadership row continues. Charles Clarke delivers another ferocious attack on Gordon Brown, calling him deluded and a control freak. Shuttle diplomacy. Excuse me. The Prime Minister arrives in the Middle East to bolster peace in the region. A 15-year-old boy is shot dead in Manchester's Moss Side. Police say it was a planned attack.
6, 5, 3 main engines up and burning. 2, 1, and liftoff of Space Shuttle.
And a successful launch for NASA's latest mission at the 5th time of asking. Thrills and spills in the Merseyside derby as Liverpool come unstuck against the Toffee men. Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to BBC News 24. Tony Blair has made a public appeal for an end to personal attacks as the infighting over the Labour leadership continues. He said the party can remake itself before the next election, but not if it continues to behave as it has in the past week. Mr Blair's comments come after the former Home Secretary Charles Clarke launched another ferocious attack on Gordon Brown, calling him deluded and a control freak. Here's Robin Crystal.